Thank you, everyone, for coming to this episode of the podcast, The Hero in the Mirror. This podcast serves as a friendly reminder that heroes aren't that hard to find, they're all around. Today, we have Joseph cover coming in from Florida, a native to New York, but now a full blown Floridian. Joseph is the founder and CEO of One Price Swipes, also a proud dad of two amazing daughters. And Joseph, I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, but I'll pause here if you want to give an introduction to the folks.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show. First of all, Fidel, I'm a big fan of you, and I've known you a while now. I always enjoy our conversation. So when you invited me on, I jumped at the opportunity. My name is Joseph. I'm located here in St. Petersburg, Florida, right outside the Tampa Bay area, and I am a proud father of two daughters, Chloe and Ellie, 6 years old and 2 years old. I'm lucky to be married to the woman of my dreams, my wife Vicky, who's also the COO of our fintech company. So I've got a great partner in life, a great partner in parenting, and a great partner in business. And just really fortunate to be in the St. Pete area. This area is the Bay Area, I always say, put me on in life. This area helped me scale my business, helped me grow up as a man and start to find my way in this world. And just super grateful for life every single day. And again, grateful to be on the show and be able to participate with Fidel today.
Absolutely, yeah, Joseph. So for our interviews, when we bring a guest on, we highlight their accolades, right? You're the founder and CEO of One Price Swipes, helping organizations maximize their revenue, streamline their payment processing systems so that way it's quick, it's efficient, and they're also now keeping some extra money in their pockets, helping them grow, helping reinvest that money into marketing, into equipment, into their personnel, right? Their human capital. You've created something amazing there, and you've also have this beautiful family that I see online, man, and kudos to you. What we usually do is we try to figure out, what was your most difficult obstacle in your hero's journey?
Sure. I mean, I don't talk about it much. This is probably the first time I've talked about it publicly, but in my journey, I had my biggest obstacle would have been addiction to opiates. When I was getting out of the Navy, I got my real estate license. I was selling real estate. And I got in a car accident, like a lot of people back in the early 2000s. So I'm dating myself a little bit here as far as how old I am. But I got addicted to pain pills. I got sent to a doctor, and I just got on these things and could not get off. It was really, really difficult. And I had a lot of ups and downs over the next decade and a half. And everything from getting in trouble with the law, being institutionalized because of things as scary as an overdose, And so it basically took a chunk of my life and just was a blur, You really couldn't get over it. It was almost like I always say walking around like with a baby elephant on your back and trying to walk through life and function through life and be productive. So I never really had that. So that was a massive, massive obstacle, and one that I was able to overcome years ago, and then be able to work my way back into society, figure out how to acclimate myself back to being someone who's not addicted to pain medication, which, as you know, is quite prevalent in our country these days, with the pharmaceutical industrial complex, all the money being made off these things. They're not exactly trying to slow that train down. There's a lot of money to be made even on addiction. So I was able to overcome that. And I would say that was by far the biggest obstacle that I've ever had to overcome, was just my addiction.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who's currently trying to overcome an addiction and reshape their life, right? Get that control back in their life. What worked for you that you think might work for other people?
Sure. I mean, I had a relationship with God the entire time. I felt like I was letting my higher power down, and you beat yourself up a lot. But I think it's important for anybody who's in the current situation to realize that if you have breath in your lungs and you wake up and your feet hit the ground out of the bed every day, you got a shot. That's the first thing I would most definitely want to remind them of it and give themselves a break. I think as someone who's dealing with an obstacle of that nature, you are prone to beat yourself up, blame yourself, tell yourself you're not good enough. I know I felt that way many days in my life. And then when I started to work my way out of that spiral and started to get back into life again, getting acclimated, being into society and trying to be a productive member of society, I started to, I read a book, Atomic Habits, years ago. And
Love
it's a
that book.
great book,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah, it's a
phenomenal.
great book. And he talks about everything from you want to replace old habits with good habits. And you could use it as something as innocuous as eating too much ice cream in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're hungry, switching that out for like yogurt and things like that. But when you translate it into something so difficult as trying to rewire your brain and your habits with addiction, I had to replace old bad habits with good habits. Yoga was one of them. I started my yoga journey almost 14 years ago when I was living in New Smyrna Beach across the state on the eastern side of the state. Yoga was huge for me. I found something really special that was able to help me turn my brain off, so to speak, and be able to get into a moving meditation. And at first, yoga was nothing more than just going once or twice a day. Sometimes I go twice a day to really hot yoga just to
Yeah,
wear myself out,
yeah,
just so I could sleep better at night, not think so much. And then slowly over the years, my yoga practice has evolved to where I've gone from just a moving meditation to be able to meditate during yoga, have a mantra, something positive. And then about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I started to blend in a breath work practice within my yoga practice. So I had the physical aspect, I had the mantra mental meditation aspect, and then I was able to start using breathing techniques that I learned through the practice of yoga. Um, and as I got off the drugs and put my addiction, in the back mirror, I was able to really replace it with a wonderful habit of yoga that changed the trajectory of my life. I credit yoga with a lot of my success. I don't think I'd be the husband, father, human,
yeah,
business leader I am today without the things I learned in yoga. And it opened me up to other things like, um, again, trading out unhealthy habits for healthy
yep,
habits.
yeah,
When you come off of pain medication, you're missing a lot of that dopamine and that feeling, and it takes a while for your brain to rewire. And so I then started going to cold plunges, and I realized, oh my goodness, like this is incredible. And I've been going to cold plunges now for almost 3 years straight. So I replaced a lot of bad habits with good habits, even things like watching too much TV. I went ahead and got rid of that, and I just started jumping into audiobooks because I was busy with the business. But I love audiobooks because you can listen as you're kind of, whether you're mowing the lawn, whether you're doing this or that around the house, whether you're walking and in between meetings and phone calls, you can put on an audiobook. And that's where I ran across Atomic Habits is one of my favorite. And so I just replaced a lot of old bad habits with new habits. So if you are in the midst of addiction, you've got to draw a line in the sand, so to speak, and decide, hey, who do I want to be and how do I get there? And I think books, whether you want to read them old school, because it's tough to read these days with the busy schedules, or you want to listen to audiobooks, I think if you start doing these healthy habits, you will rewire your brain. And then it just becomes natural to think differently and think positively. And when obstacles come your way, again, the addiction was the biggest one. I always believe that every obstacle has a solution. They're mutually exclusive. One cannot exist without the other. And my brain is wired that way. And that really translates
yeah.
well into the parenting, into the marriage, into life itself, and most importantly, into business. So that's a really long winded answer.
No, that's phenomenal, man. This platform is yours for you to really dig deep and give us those gems, and those are phenomenal. If I were to recap those three, number one, your relationship with God. There's a quote that I really love: "Wake up like God is rooting for
That's right.
you."
Yeah,
Man, that's powerful. Like,
I like that.
and that's a bit of hinting into, right. Like sometimes you fall short, and you don't feel that you're worthy of His love. But you're His child, right? Just like how you love your children, no matter if they're writing on the wall,
That's right.
threw their spaghetti on the floor, you still love them, right? And when you think about that relationship that you have with God, where He's your Father and you're the child, even though you're misbehaving, you're not where He would want you to be. There's still that love that exists. So, quote there, right? Wake up like God is rooting for you because He is. Second, you said replacing old habits with new ones. And a lot of those, and what you had mentioned that I think was really great was moving meditation. That's the first time I've heard that. At least translated, right? Yoga. What is yoga? It's moving meditation to a certain extent. I'm also a big fan of cold plunges. I actually have a cold plunge in my basement. In the winter time, I just gotta turn on the water, and it's super cold. In the
Freeze.
summer, in the summertime, I gotta stop by the store and grab some ice and throw it in there before a good run. I'm a big fan of those. And you talked about the chemistry of the brain, which I think is also important to understand, is the dopamine. How are you getting your dopamine? Is your dopamine through a substance, or is it through an action? Something positive that you're doing with your life. And you really took out the dopamine from, the substances and replaced it with activity that challenged you physically, but also helped you recover, helped you rewire your brain, and still at the end of the day gave you that bit of dopamine. I accomplished something. I did something well. And three, books. I'm gonna throw another quote, man. I'm like a library of quotes. There was a speaker that had mentioned that libraries are paved with gold. It's because all of the books that exist there, right? If you're looking to be a better person, look no farther than your local library. It's paved with gold. If knowledge is power, that's a gym right there. Go in there, pick up some books, read them, and gather. Be intentional about your reading. I think is also important to understand.
I
It's not
agree.
just don't just read to read. Like what am I trying to synthesize from this information that I'm gathering? And the audiobooks are a good hack as well.
Yes, they are.
You're too busy to hit up the library, to crack open a book, throw on some headphones, go for a walk. You're gonna go to the post office, throw on some headphones, pull up that audiobook,
You can take it anywhere, you know?
take it anywhere.
Plug in, bro.
That's great. So thank you for those pieces of advice. Now, if we were to continue this journey of yours, you had mentioned also your wife. I'm wondering your support systems. What did that look like? Did your wife see that version of Joseph, or were you already a polished man by the time that you met the woman of your dreams?
Not even close. When I met my wife at the end of 2018, I think she saw a lot of confidence in me. It's almost like that. I saw a stand-up comedian, a female, say, when you get married, you got to buy low and sell high. I think I think she saw a lot of potential in me, but I didn't have real confidence. A lot of it was bravado, and she'll tell you back then I didn't know how to dress. She had to help me with my style and everything.
Yeah.
But I was a different version. I think I was still who I was in a certain sense. I think she can get a sense from me and maybe the kindness that I had towards her and um, how I felt towards her. And it took me like 8 months to get my wife to go out on a date with me. I basically had to pursue her and message her and stop messaging her for a while and then circle back months later.
Yeah.
So I joke around. It takes like, I think it was like 7 or 8 months until she went on the first date with me. And then when we went on our first date, I knew I was in love right away with her. And we just dated for a month. We didn't do what everybody does these days in the dating app age where you're swiping left, swiping right. I focused in, I deleted all my dating apps, got rid of them.
Yeah.
And we just dated and got to know each other on on a personal level. I won't get, we just didn't have, you didn't have to get physical right away. And I
Mhm.
never had that experience before. I think because I was just in a different mindset. But when I knew I had the right one, I was like, I want to focus on her and only her. And let's just get to know her first. Let's not put the cart before the horse, so to speak. And so through the years, then my first child was born February of 2020, right before COVID hit. And that changed my world in so many ways. I refocused on business, but really I was focused on my family. And then 4 years later, my second daughter was born. So over the years, I've evolved. We've evolved as a couple. We've had some ups and downs, way more ups, very few downs. We communicate at a very high level. She's not afraid to tell me what's on her mind. I'm not afraid to tell her what's on my mind. We talk with each other, not at each other. And so
That's
I'm
great.
really fortunate. I know I met the right woman because I dated enough before her to know what I didn't want. And so when I finally met the right one, I was able to lock in and really focus. And we have a beautiful relationship. She makes me laugh like nobody else makes me
Yeah.
laugh. We traveled right away together. First trip was
Yeah.
to the Keys, been in New York several times, California, been all over the world together. So we've always traveled well. And now we take our girls everywhere with us, whether it's Europe or wherever we're going, we take our family. So I've been really fortunate to have evolved as a human being. I always had yoga back then, but as my yoga practice evolved, my meditation practice evolved, then the cold plunge, the reading of books. She loves me and knows me, so she knows. A lot of times she'll be like, "Joe, no," and I'll have a book in my ear. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm listening to something." She knows I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast, so she understands me like nobody else does, and I've come to understand her and appreciate all of her qualities, and also appreciate some of the things, she doesn't turn the lights off a lot of times. And I realized years ago, I'm like, dude, like if that's the one thing you got to deal with, you got it pretty good. So I just
Yeah.
flip the light off myself now, and she's come to know
Don't
me
even
and
choose your battle. Choose your
choose your
battle.
battles. And she's come to know my deficiencies here and there, whether it's this or that. Sometimes I can get flustered. I wear my emotions on my sleeve oftentimes. But one thing I learned about marriage, you have to love people for all the great things and also the things that aren't so great. You have to accept them. And I've come to totally accept her. It's enriched our relationship significantly. She's done the same for me. We parent really well together. Our kids love us. We love them. They're kids. You understand, spaghetti on the wall,
Yeah.
writing on the wall, and all this stuff. But
Yes, or spaghetti on the wall.
it could be anything with these kids. But we've become a really good team, and I really enjoy being around her. Sometimes we'll just do date nights, right over here downtown behind us, 5 minutes from where we live, and we'll sit there and talk about life and about business and about travel and whatever it is. So I've managed to get blessed. God bless me, because before I met her, I didn't know if I'd ever meet the right woman. I was dating around. I always wanted kids. I knew I was a good uncle. I knew I was great around kids. I always wanted a family. I didn't know. I accepted, hey, you got to go with roll with the punches. Whatever the universe has for you, has for you. But then I met her, and it's like God gave me everything I ever asked for and a whole lot more. And so there's such a level of gratitude for my higher power and gratitude for the relationship and what it's done for me and enhanced my life completely.
That's phenomenal. Honestly, you guys are a dynamic duo. And she's also your,
Appreciate
she's your COO. So keeping you honest. She's being honest as well, right? Providing you feedback that you need to continue to structure that business. You guys do a great job, both of you, parenting these two amazing daughters. I did talk to Joseph a little early before the podcast, and for the dads out there who are who have daughters, there's this book, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. It's by Meg Meeker. Lots of great anecdotes. She talks about her personal story. I guess if I were to give, a couple things here, is she talks about some main tips for dads. The first chapter. You are the most important man in her life. You set the tone for other men that are going to be in her life. Number 2, she needs a hero.
Perfect.
That's you. I'll give the team one more. You are her first love. You are her first love.
That.
So as a girl dad, right? I've kept this pretty close with my 17-year-old and now 5 months.
Amazing.
Good. Well, thank you for that, and I appreciate that. You have this phenomenal woman by your side. Supporting you with your business endeavors, with your family. Any other shout outs to support systems that you've had across the years?
My mom has always been a huge support system. I'm adopted, first of all. So my biological mom had to give me up for adoption. She was sick when she was younger. And my mother foster cared me at 2.5 and then legally adopted me. And I got baptized at 4. So my mother's always been a huge support system. My father, who's no longer with us, has always been there for me. So my parents were huge. I was a troublesome kid. I was getting in trouble. I won't get into the details, but I was not an easy kid to raise. My teachers and everyone would be like, "Wow, your son's so nice. He's such a sweet boy, so polite." My parents would be like, "Who are you talking about?"
That kid.
Yeah, exactly that kid. So my mom's always been a huge support system in my life, and still is to today, and believes in me. And now that I've got my act together and got my life together, I know I've made her so proud. I know my dad's watching in heaven. I know he's proud of me. I wish he was here to see who I've become and to see my granddaughters. But so my mom's been a huge support system and always has been. And then I think as my life has gotten more direction, and the 5 people you surround yourself with, the most influential people in your life, I don't surround myself with any non-starters, so to speak. I don't have time for any riffraff, any empty conversations. I'm here to help people if I can help them, but I really surround myself with a lot of winners. And I've been fortunate to Napoleon Hill is one of my favorite authors. Think and Grow Rich is
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich, and then Outwitting the Devil, two fantastic books by one of the great all time greats. And I have a mastermind alliance, a lot of really awesome men in my life, and a couple women, my wife, and a few other people that I lean on for advice. But mostly, I have good men in my life, which I think in America it's so sexualized. America, everything from social media to TV is sexualized, and everything is about this or that. But if you could surround yourself as a man with really good men and have really wholesome friendships, people that you can rely on for personal advice, business advice, go out and have a coffee. I went and had some coffee and breakfast with my friends the other morning. You have a wife that supports you and says, yeah, go do your thing. Before I took the girls to the pool, I went out with my buddies and we caught up a little bit. And so I've got a really good mastermind alliance. It's grown past 5 people. I've got about a dozen people
Man,
who I love and
the
care
wolf
for.
pack.
Yeah, a big wolf pack. Some of them I travel with to Ecuador, and we went hiking in Ecuador together. Sometimes we'll have a barbecue at my house and watch old Michael Jordan YouTube videos and talk about sports and smoke cigars. And sometimes we do co-ed stuff and we go out with all the wives and girlfriends. But that friendships that I've developed, and that's really only been the last 3 years. I always wanted that. I never really had it. And so I've developed that, and those guys have become huge, and they're all successful in different spaces in life, whether it's business owners, e-commerce owners, medical space, sales. Some guys are personal trainers. They all do something different. They do it really, really well. And so that's been a huge influence on me as far as guiding me and continuing to help me become the man, because I'm really happy where I'm at, but I still have a vision for the future. And I'm always trying to sharpen myself to get better. So I got to give credit to the guys in my life and my mastermind life. They've been a big influence on
Iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens
me.
another.
That's right.
Spot
That's
on,
exactly
man. And that's good. That's honestly something that I'm struggling with, is that, like, I know there are these great men in my local area. It's just juggling the dad responsibilities, making sure that the kids are accounted for, making sure I'm still working on myself. But you're right. It's finding just that time. Let's grab some coffee. Let's have a chat. What are your goals? What are my goals? How are we both supporting each other and keeping each other accountable? I think is what's really important. With your business, if we're to shift gears a little bit, you're expanding. You're expanding with one price swipes. I heard you started to work or partner with Square, or you're part of Square. If we can talk a little bit about your business and maybe how your definition of success has changed over time.
sure. So I'm in payment acceptance, fintech, and financial technology. And just in a nutshell, you help business owners take payments. Whether you're at your local nail salon, your restaurant, if you own an air condition repair company, if you own a supply chain distribution company, whatever you're doing to take payments, we help business owners take that payments either through credit card payments, or they can do ACH as well to save them some money. So and I do it not only in America, but I've got countries in Europe that I'm actually live with as well. And so we just help business owners take payments. It's a great industry because you do a job one time, you set them up, you make sure the money gets there on time, you answer their phone calls if they need you, you become accessible to them, which is what busy business owners want, is accessibility to someone to answer questions. And then you kind of sit back and you collect a residual every month off the transaction. So for me, guy who likes to travel, guy who likes to
Yeah.
be with his kids, spend quality time with his wife and family, and do things. Perfect business for me because I can perform at a high level for my clients, but also own my time, which is my most valuable asset. You can have all the money in the world, but time and health and love is what I'm most focused on. So I've been in the business. I was just a regular sales agent, like a lot of guys are right now. I cut my teeth 13 years ago, getting involved, going after restaurants and small merchants. And I wasn't really sure about the business because back in the day, it's unregulated, it's a little nefarious. People were charging people for equipment, leasing equipment. I thought to myself, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think we're really taking care of the business owner here. We're only taking care of our pockets. It's okay to do both, but it shouldn't just be one way. And so 7 years ago, I started One Price Wipes. I came up with this name, One Price Swipes. And I started this business and I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and provide the highest level white glove VIP service. I'm going to do what I say and say what I do. And I'm going to change the trajectory of this industry. Now, am I the only one doing this? No, there's some other good companies out there. I know these guys, and we feed off each other. But we're in the minority because a lot of people will promise the world and never come through. So I decided to start this company, became successful, was able to build a nice income stream for me and my family. Um, Take care of my family at a high level, put my girls in the right schools and daycares, take care of my wife, and just overall be a good human being. So as I evolve with the business, we transformed into something else now where I'm helping other people across the country now get into this business and be able to raise their level of financial stability, own their time, which for a lot of them were like-minded, cut from the same cloth. Their time is the most valuable asset. So that's what I'm doing now. My single-minded focus is how do I get as many people in this industry as possible and help them be successful at a time when people in my position are trying to charge people to get in the industry, basically charging $10, $20, $30,000. If you go on Instagram, you'll see it. It's crazy when all the money is made on the swipes and transactions. So I kind of took that and reverse engineered it. And I went ahead and instead of charging people for training and machines and access, I gave away all for free. I provide free training, free machines, free access, onboarding, sales support. And I found a lot of success with that formula. It's not the quick money grab. You know, there's the marshmallow test. You want one marshmallow now, or you're willing to wait for two more? I'm a two marshmallow guy. I can
Yes,
wait.
yes,
You know what
sir.
I mean? And so God's blessed me. He's kind of formulated me into this CEO. It's kind of weird to call myself a CEO, but that's what I am. And I'm growing into the role every day. And then you mentioned Square. We're a Square authorized dealer through a relationship I had with another technology company that I never really utilized, but I really loved the sales director. He just was my kind of guy. I met him in San Diego and I started to emulate him. I learned a lot from him, meeting him in person. 3 years later, he took over at Square as the national sales director. When I found out, I called him. He answered on the first call. People know me as Credit Card Joe or Credit Card Joseph. He goes, Credit
Yeah.
Card Joseph, what's going on? And we had a nice chat. 2 days later, we were interviewed by him and his team. And 2 weeks later, we were live. That was 7 weeks ago. Since then, having Square, which is the Apple of payment acceptance, has changed everything for us because we can go after accounts we never went after before. We have name recognition. And Square is a great company. You know it, they're a giant, but they were only able to get so much business because they didn't have any real agents in the field. So it was the 800 number or a chat bot. Now, me and my team, which is nationwide, is able to go out and offer Square services and give a live, warm body behind the service, someone to call, someone to access and get your questions answered. Square has been absolutely huge for us. Not only are we selling it, but we're recruiting off of it at a level that I could not have even predicted. We've basically dotted the map east to west with all types of agents who are already submitting deals. And so that fit perfectly in with my vision and my desire to help as many people. I was already doing it, praise God, but now because of Square, it's enhanced my entire platform. And I still offer other technologies, and I will according to what the customer needs. But oftentimes, Square is the best solution. So that relationship was just a blessing. So proud to be on board with those guys, and it's allowing me to kind of live out my dreams. Again, help as many people as possible, help as many business owners as possible, and help as many agents in the field be successful.
So for our business owners, right? If it's been a while since you've chatted with somebody about your payment processing system, or if you're thinking about building that new restaurant, that new cafe, and you want to make sure you get the best deal in the market, hit up Joseph. He'll definitely provide you insights or guide you in the
Yeah,
right direction. Or guide you in the
absolutely.
right
Happy
direction.
to
Yeah.
do so. Happy to chat anytime.
As a local business consultant here, my primary focus for businesses is how do I empower their public speaking, presentation skills, their emotional intelligence. I'm also looking for opportunities to to bridge that connection, to also ask those tough questions too, because when you start going from public speaking to emotional intelligence, and then start talking about brass tactics. What about that credit card machine you have? When's the last time you've had that reviewed? How much are you getting charged a month? Sometimes business owners are so busy that they don't
They don't
really
know.
see. They don't know. They don't know that they're getting really charged a lot, and that there are more competitive offers in the marketplace.
Exactly.
So definitely excited for our continued synergy, with with the consulting that I'm able to provide and the consulting that you through One Price Swipes is able to offer.
Likewise, my friend.
I kind of want to talk about your non-negotiables every day. What do those look like for a founder and CEO?
Sure. Well, for a founder and CEO, my non-negotiables are: you don't treat anybody wrong, you don't do anybody dirty, you don't burn any bridges with people, you treat people how you want to be treated. And I wasn't always like this. I'm not on my high horse here. Believe me when I tell you, I'm a different person I was in the past. But as I've evolved as a person, I've learned to just be kind to people. Do what you promise to do. If you make a mistake, own the mistake. People really respect that. If you can admit you did something wrong and you're going to work to rectify it. So, um, as a business person, as a CEO, that's it. I make sure I take care of my people in the field. I make sure I do everything I can to make them be successful. I'm very big, again, on not charging people to be in this business, even though it's a quick money grab and I enjoy money and I want to be successful. I feel like if I play the long game here, I'll be a lot more successful and I sleep really well at night. And so as a CEO, that's my approach. Um, it was just with business owners at first, and now I'm building a team, a national sales team. And I feel like if I just stay the course and I play the long game, I think I can build one of the most successful bilingual sales forces in fintech that they've ever seen. And it's weird. You have to visualize something first before it happens. Years ago, when I created One Price Swipes, I had it in my head like, I want to become I'm going to work to become one of the best in this business. And it sounds ludicrous to think that when I didn't know anything. But as the months piled on and the years piled on, and I look at myself right now, I've positioned myself to really make a big impact and make a splash in this industry. And so I've had that vision. I know if you treat people, again, how you want to be treated, and you look out for their interest, not only will you bless them, but in the long run, you'll grow as well. And so it's a win-win if you just operate with integrity. That's really big for me. And my non-negotiable is I don't want anybody on my team that doesn't have integrity, doesn't practice with integrity. I interview everybody. They go through a funnel and a sales pro. They go through the training, but when it comes down to it, I interview everybody. Nobody joins a team without at least a 30-minute FaceTime for me to get a feel, because I can pick up a lot just like this with this format. I can talk to somebody, ask questions, and see how they answer. So for me, it's all about integrity, and I want to build a family. I want to make money, but I want people to feel like they're part of a family. And I get that a lot with people who have joined the team. So I think that's really important to just really be who you are, be authentic and transparent. And I think that resonates with business owners to gain new business, but also with building a team. I think it's very important.
It's inspiring to hear from another, founder and CEO treat people the way that you want to be treated. Because some folks get into a leadership position, and some people become managers and become leaders just because they were really good at doing their job. Doesn't mean they're really good at building people up, at supporting your dreams and goals from some of the folks that they work with. So very inspiring. And going back to the conversation around God, are there any tips and advice that you would give people to build that connection, to build that relationship?
That's a good question. First of all, don't overcomplicate prayer, okay, or meditation. Prayer is meditation, and meditation is prayer. No matter how you break it down, it's the same exact thing. You're communicating with God. Back to moving meditations, you can talk to God any way you want. If you want to get on your knees at night and pray by the bed, I've done that before. Do it. If you want to take a long walk at night and just meditate and think about who you are and what you want to do the next day and how you want to treat people, that's meditation. If you want to sit there and and listen to something on YouTube, that's meditation. Don't overcomplicate it. All you're doing is having a conversation. If you want to speak it out loud through prayer, do it. If you want to think it, God knows your thoughts. So I always recommend just keep it real simple and just make a habit of it. Find time to commune every day with your higher power. For me, it's usually right when I wake up, or right and also right when I go to bed. And before, if you have kids, you don't have kids, but me and my daughters at night and my wife will all get ready for bed and we'll do a gratitude. Well, my daughter will go first, then I'll go, then my wife will go, my 2-year-old will mumble something out, but we'll all do a gratitude list to God and basically
Yeah.
tell him what we're grateful for, and kind of do a prayer together every night. And so again, it's just building in those daily habits. It becomes so natural to you. When I was on a business trip in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, I really missed being home with my girls and having that ritual that we do. And so just keep it simple when it comes to God. And like you said before, God's always rooting for you. I realize it now in retrospect, hindsight being 2020 the way it is. Wow,
Mhm.
God's always had my back. But there were sometimes I felt very alone and very distraught. And looking back now, I realized that was just part of the journey. And if you press God and you ask and you shall receive. If you ask God for help, I ask God for a wife, a family. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be a better human being. That was a big one because I wasn't always um, so affable. I didn't operate with such a level of integrity as I do today. If you ask God, you will eventually get it, but sometimes it's God's timing, and most usually it's not your timing. That's a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
lesson I've learned.
You mentioned, a couple of really great things there. I think the first one is, sometimes you don't feel that, God is close to you.
Yeah,
I heard this one phrase: the teacher's always quiet during the test.
that's right. Yeah, that's
you
good, dude.
know, S-
It's really
like
good.
it's it's your time to hunker down and focus. And you had mentioned, the attitude of gratitude. The universe and God
So important.
loves grateful people. As we start to wrap up this episode today, I wanted to ask if there's any final words, any final thoughts you'd like to give our viewers here today. Coming from this entrepreneur background, overcoming addiction, being a family man, having this vision of success in front of you. Yeah, any last word?
Sure. I just want to remind everybody this is an abundant universe and God wants you to live in abundance. And everybody has different levels and different definitions of abundant. That's to each their own. But God wants that for you. And to stay the course, you have to have a vision in your head. I'll leave you with this. This is something I did back when I was 35 years old, about 4 years before I met my wife. I wrote a vision statement about what I would be doing at 40 years old. And it was detailed. I woke up on my birthday, married, the kids chasing the dog chasing the kids around the house, being with the people I loved. And I just wrote this vision statement out. And let me tell you, when I was 40, my first daughter was born already. And as I look back, everything that was in my vision statement went to my head, that went to paper. Everything has come true and a lot more. So sometimes you have to plan. So if you have a vision for yourself, write it out, map it out in your head, meditate and pray on it because it is a very abundant universe. The universe will give you everything you want in this world. You just have to put the right energy behind it. If you have positive affirmations, but the energy behind it is negative and a scarcity mindset, God doesn't really honor that. So I recommend it doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes you have to fake it until you make it when it comes to mindset, but never give up. Just come up with that plan, realize God wants what's best for you, and just put one foot in step of the other, one foot in front of the other, because you eventually will get there. Just want to encourage everybody, no matter what they're going through, keep your head up. And like I said, you've got a shot at being exactly and living exactly the life you want to. Sometimes it just takes a little time to get there.
Spot on, spot on. The mentality of abundance. The universe
Sure.
is abundant, and sometimes you can ask for wealth. You can be wealthy in a variety of different ways. You can be wealthy in love. You can be wealthy in happiness, wealthy in family, wealthy in strength and discipline. Right. So yeah, for our folks out there, right, the universe is abundant. If you ask
Sure
it
is.
for wealth, yeah, what type of wealth are you looking for? And it exists in all these different varieties, different flavors of wealth. Hard to say it another way. Joseph, it was a pleasure to have you hop on here and represent both New York and Florida,
That's right. Thanks for having
and
me, bro. I had a great
and
time.
yeah, and your company, One Price Swipes. Look forward to launching this. And for our folks listening in, if you liked this episode and others like it, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe for more. Appreciate all the support that you can give for us to keep running this channel and keep bringing you real life heroes. My last message to all of you is to smile when you see that hero in the mirror.